What is up, everybody, and welcome back. We're here to talk about the Charles Schwab Challenge. Should be a fun week. It's a week after a major, but we have a pretty strong field set to tee it up in Fort Worth, Texas. Scotty Scheffler's in the field, Jordan Spieth's in the field, Tommy Fleetwood's in the field. So even though not as big of an event as we had last week, should still be a fun one. As far as the course goes, it's Colonial Country Club. It is a par 70. The measure is nearly 7,300 yards. There was a restoration in 2023. And they basically redid all the greens, which are playing a lot firmer and faster than they used to. They lengthened the course. They put in some barrancas. So it was already one of the toughest courses on the PGA Tour that wasn't a major. And, we certainly saw that last year. It played as the fifth toughest course on tour. The fairways are tree line. They're pretty narrow, and there's a lot of dog legs. And that you typically think that would lead to more of a lesson driver course. But that wasn't the case last year. We saw golfers hit driver on 65% of their tee shots that weren't on par threes. So that's one of the highest numbers that we've ever seen at this event. So golfers are trying to be a little bit more aggressive, trying to drive the ball over the trees to take out some of the dog legs. So I do think golfers are going to be a tad more aggressive than they usually are at this event. So I am putting 9% weight to strokes gained off the tee, only 3% weight to accuracy. Typically or historically, I would have bumped this up a little bit more on the driving accuracy front. And then the greens here are very small, very difficult to hit in regulation. So that's going to put an emphasis on approach play, which I have weighted at 12%. And then strokes gained around the green at 6%. I don't mind bumping this up even more than it is right now. The greens themselves feature pure bent grass. So if you do want to look at putting splits, you can do that. I have that weighted at 2%. And then with it being such a difficult course, I'm focusing on bogey avoidance rather than birdie or better percentage. So I have bogey avoidance at 6%. Course history has been fairly predictive, but not super predictive over the years. So I only have it at 4%. Some of my favorite filters that you can use in the rabbit hole, which we do. My favorite stat engine to use. We have a partnership with them. If you do want to try it out, you can get a little discount by using our links. But difficult par 70s. Is one of my favorite filters to use this week, just kind of looking at different comp courses. Golfers that play well on courses with small greens, I'll sort it here. So Scheffler's number one in all of these metrics. Then Hideki, Fleetwood, Harmon. And then I was looking at the course breakdown on BetSperts, and they were saying it's really hard to gain strokes off the tee here. It's also really hard to gain strokes on approach here. So that was my final filter here. So guys that do the best on those types of courses, you have Scheffler, Harmon, Tom Kim, Emiliano Grillo, and then Jordan Spieth, who I do like a lot this week. Okay, then we have the form and field strength. I have broken out into 5%, 6%, 6% in the percentile finishes. And then I have 8% weighted to the last 3 months, 7% weighted to the last 12 months. And then obviously I have 0% here because it's all included here. But if you do want to focus on the long-term stuff on a pure strokes gained basis, you can definitely put a weight here. And then field strength, I put it at 8%. Kind of helps balance out golfers that have played really well in not so strong of fields in the past. So biggest decision point this week is going to be Scotty Scheffler. He is 13.7. The next closest is 10,000. So $3,700 difference between the first and second most expensive golfers. And the reason for that, well, there's a number of reasons, but he's coming off of a win at the PGA Championship, won by 5 strokes. The previous time he teed it up, he won the CJ Cup by 8 strokes, and he's finished second, third, and second here the last 3 years. He's from Texas. He tends to play his best on courses that are demanding tee to green. And he's gained strokes putting in 10 of his last 11 starts. So there's really no argument you can make against him. You could say, maybe there's a letdown after the major win, but the last time he won a major, he came out the next week and won the RBC Heritage. So I don't really see a strong argument against him. Then look at the outright odds. You have Scheffler at plus 250, and then everyone else is in the 20s and 30s. So clearly the betting favorite. We rarely see that post Tiger Woods. We haven't really seen numbers like that. So definitely like Scheffler this week. I'm going to be overweight on the 46 and the 43% ownership. I just think it's a really good spot for him. And when you do play Scheffler, it's kind of hard to build with somebody else in the nines. Last week you could do it because the salary floor was only $5,000 on DraftKings. So it was a little bit easier to make those stars and scrubs teams. This week, it's extremely difficult, so I'm not going to be having a ton of exposure to this range, although I will build a couple non-Scheffler lineups that start with Spieth. I think that's certainly an interesting way to do it. You can start with 3 guys in the 9Ks if you do that. Spieth's got the good course history. The recent ball striking is pretty good. The short game's kind of coming around recently. And he's got 9 top 15s here in 12 starts. So loves the place. Also a home game for him. I like Aaron Rai, accurate off the tee, good iron player, guy that can really get hot with the ball striking. He gained 8 strokes on approach last week. I like Daniel Berger, just continues to play well each and every week. T33 last week, but had a really bad week with the putter. Was really strong tee to green. So he's won this event before. Wouldn't surprise me at all to see him in contention. Then we're dipping down into the next range. I like Brian Harman at 8,500, a guy that tends to play these types of courses well. Right now, well, in pretty much all the comps and the course history, and pretty good form. Won 7 weeks ago, so not too far off in terms of his form. Don't mind Ben Griffin and Novak. They're kind of short course specialists that have been in really good form. Bud Golly's been playing well. Missed the cut on the number last week, so I'm hoping that'll keep ownership down a little bit. He's got a good course history here. He's also got 3 top 6s in the last 10 weeks. Ryan Gerard's been playing great. I was surprised to see him hold on to that top 10 after getting off to such a hot start at the PGA Championship. Alex Smalley projects well. I marked him as a core play over on DraftKings this week. Just consistent cut maker, good course history, doesn't really have a weakness in his game, so I think he makes a lot of sense at 7,700. Glover's been, striping the ball lately. He just hasn't been able to putt, but prior to that, he had a lot of good putting weeks. So if you can kind of marry those two together, the ball striking plus the putting, I do think he could have a really nice week at 8,100. I think it's a good bounce back week for Mackenzie Hughes. I won't be playing any Robert McIntyre, one of the worst in the field on difficult par 70s and on courses with small greens. So it's an easy fade for me. Ricky Castillo's rating out really well. Pretty small sample size with him, but he's been making a lot of cuts recently. 3 top 20s in his last 7 starts. Has played well on courses with small greens, one of the best in terms of bogey avoidance, and we got that $6,900 price point, which is nice. Eric Cole has been playing well. Over his last, I think, 7 starts, he's gained 38 strokes on the field if you just take out off the tee. So a guy that's very good on approach, around the green, and putting. That's kind of what I'm looking for this week at Colonial Country Club. Love Andrew Putnam, another guy, accurate off the tee, and he's above average in every one of the other strokes gained metrics. So he'll be in his approach shots from longer than everybody else, but hopefully he'll be doing it from the fairway. Hoagie's a guy that can get hot. I like him in tournaments. Rico Hoagie's a good ball striker. So I was looking at Matt Kuchar. He's made 13 of his last 16 cuts on tour. He's made 9 of his last 11 cuts at this event. I think he's good for a made cut, and at 6,800, that's pretty much all we can ask for. If you post like a top 20, then we're really in the money there. Don't mind Victor Perez at 6,800. Stephen Fisk is a guy that's projecting really well for me. Really high top 5 percentile finish rate on the Korn Ferry Tour. And I don't know, the stats look pretty good. We don't have a huge sample size on the strokes gain numbers, but yeah, I'll sign me up 6,600. I think that's interesting. Bramlett's been really good tee to green if you want to focus on that. He's a bad putter, but don't mind looking at him. Seabez has some good course history. Riley's a defending champ. He's been playing really well. Finished second last week, the PGA Championship, which was kind of surprising. Danny Walker at 6,400 is going to make some of my lineups. And that'll do it for the week. Wish everyone the best of luck. Hit that thumbs up button on the way out, and we'll catch you back here next week.